Hello, welcome back to the Your Everyday Strength podcast. My name is Josh Sternberg, and if you are joining us today for the very first time, thank you so much for being here. If you're returning, fucking thanks. Thanks for coming back. We're at episode 9, and today is it's kind of funny because I'd planned to do this episode on today, and I didn't necessarily correlate dates or anything like that. But today's episode is 10 things I wish I knew when I started as a PT. Today, the date in which I'm recording, which is the 21st of May, also happens to be the 7-year anniversary of starting in the industry as a PT. I'd kind of been a little bit involved with it before then, but my first full-time role as a PT in the industry, 7 years. What a fucking journey. And it was kind of funny that it popped up this morning of all mornings, because I was sitting there and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to record this podcast today. This is going to be great. Map out a few of the things that I'm going to be discussing, et cetera, et cetera. And then that popped up and I was like, fucking oath, alignment, baby, alignment. I'm telling you, it's coming together. The universe is universing. So this episode is essentially going to be aimed more probably towards people who either are looking to start a career as a PT, within coaching, anything along those lines. Like even if you just have an interest in coaching in general, or if you just want to learn a little bit about, maybe some of my journey as a PT, some of the things I've learned along the way, et cetera, then this is probably going to be the fucking episode for you. And funnily enough, when I very first started as a PT, and I've spoken about this before in the very first episode, but I found a random podcast exactly like this that was hosted by a few people that I knew that helped me to really dive in and learn a few of the things that I needed to learn when I first became a PT. Now, this is not going to be as in-depth as that was. That still to this day has probably got one of the best frameworks I've ever seen in terms of becoming a PT. It is called the PT Performance Podcast. And if you are starting as a PT and you give this one a listen and there's a few things that you take away from it, go and listen to that podcast. And I can guarantee you right now that you will learn a fuckload of things that are going to help you for very, very many years to come. So, without further ado, this one's not going to take very long, I don't reckon. I'm going to try and get through it as quick as I can. Don't want to fuck around. So there is going to be 10 lessons that I've learned as a PT, starting from number 1. Communication beats technical knowledge. It is called personal training. It is not a pissing contest about how much you learn from your uni degree or your course or the textbook that you read. It is called personal training. If you cannot connect on a personal level with individuals that you are working with within a gym, then you will never fucking succeed. How you deliver a cue, hold space, and make someone feel seen is so much more important than any of the biomechanics jargon, any of the TDE calculations that you can spit at them, anything like that. I can promise you right now that the more I've learned, the more I've realized that my clients really don't give a fuck about what I know. All they care about is how I make them feel, can I help them achieve their goals, and do they feel supported along the way? Personal. It is a personal relationship that you have with this individual. If there was no personal aspect of it, if they wanted to talk to a computer with the way in which the world is nowadays, they can simply go onto ChatGPT, type in, give me a 3 to 4 day program that comprises of XYZ, and they will get a fucking program. If they want to deal with a human being who is going to relate them, is going to have emotions, is going to be able to help them, that is why they come to you. 2, and this one might be a little bit, what's the word? It might be, I don't think controversial. I don't think that's the right word to say, but I'll say it and you'll understand what I mean. Number 2, you deserve to have imposter syndrome. Let me explain. Imposter syndrome hits early. And the reason is you haven't got any fucking wins on the board. Yes, you've gone and done your Cert 3 and 4, and let's be realistic. Anyone who's done their Cert 3 and 4 knows that there's a lot to be left desired, to be honest. Even an exercise science degree, do you know a decent amount? Yeah, absolutely. But is there still a hell of a lot left to be desired? Absolutely. You still need to learn how to deal with people. You still need to actually take what you've learned, be able to implement it into a real world scenario, and actually have someone achieve results as a byproduct of what you have given them. Having imposter syndrome, I had it. I still, to this day, every now and again, I will find that I have had it in certain aspects. And when I've dove a little bit deeper into why, it is because I haven't stacked enough wins on the board within relation to either that demographic of person or with those specific results or whatever the case might be. Having imposter syndrome is not a bad thing. It is something you should have. You haven't got any fucking wins. Start stacking wins. Start building some confidence. Imposter syndrome will disappear. I can promise you right now. In a world full of noise, there is always going to be people who speak louder, talk more clearly, etc. All you need to do is be yourself. Get people results, fucking connect on a personal level, and I can promise you right now that you're going to have a very long career as a PT or a coach, whatever the case might be. This ties in really, really well with the next point. Number 3. Point 3. It's okay to say, I don't know. You're not expected to fucking know everything. Honesty, it builds trust. If you sit there and act as if you are an encyclopedia of everything training and nutrition, and you think that you know everything to do with the human body, you know everything to do with biomechanics, you know everything to do with rehabilitation, you know everything to do with nutrition, you know everything to do with sleep and supplementation and hormones and all of this sort of shit, nobody's going to come to you because nobody's going to believe that. I can guarantee you right now that there are experts in the field who have been doing their jobs for 20, 30, 40 years, who might be PhD candidates or even have a PhD, who still say, I don't know. The best way to answer a question, if someone comes to you and they ask you something to do with training, nutrition, whatever the case might be, you can turn around and say, I don't know, but let me find out for you. I don't know, but you know what? I do actually know somebody who does. Let's go and ask them. Or I'll ask them and I'll give you the feedback. When you say you don't know, it allows your client or potential client to understand that you are just a fucking human being. Now, you are not going to be able to help every single person that you come in contact with, and that is perfectly fine because there is somebody who will, and your perfect clients will find you. But by telling them that you don't know, I'll go and find out for you, that not only builds trust, but it also shows that you can problem solve and that you will try your best to learn new things so that not only you can teach them and pass that on, but that you can actually learn for yourself too. Because I can tell you right now, you are going to be constantly learning. If you're not constantly learning, you're not constantly evolving. If you're not constantly evolving, you will get left behind and you will not survive in the fucking industry. This industry is incredibly cutthroat. It doesn't take all that long to do a Cert 3 and 4. There are fucking gyms all across the country, all across the world, pumping out new graduates month in, month out, month in, month out. Most of the gyms in Australia, they don't really care about the PTs. It's just a matter of get them in, pay the rent. If they can't pay the rent, fuck them off, get someone else in who can do it. You're going to need to understand that. Unfortunately, it's very cutthroat. The success rate of PTs within the industry within Australia who survive more than 6 months is like less than fucking 10% or something. And then of those 10% that survive the 6 months, it's less than 10% again to survive 12 months. So trust me when I say this, I have seen probably hundreds of PTs come and go within the industry. People who couldn't hack it, people who couldn't understand, people who couldn't connect with people, coaches who just didn't have what it took or takes to actually build a successful career within coaching, PT, whatever the case might be that you actually want to do long term. And that ties in beautifully to point number 4. If you want to build a career, treat it like a business early. Becoming a PT, and this is unfortunately something that's not catered to too much within the actual personal training Cert 3 and 4. You really don't learn a great deal of the business side within that. It's more sets, reps, how to train people, different demographics, so all of this sort of shit. If you want to become successful as a PT, if you want to become successful as a coach, especially nowadays, you need to learn marketing. You need to get better at communication. You need to get better at retention. You need to get better at building referral systems. You need to be able to understand sales. You need to be able to handle objections. You need to be able to, do everything. You need to have an accountant. You need to be accountable to actually fucking tracking metrics with not only your business metrics, but your accounting metrics. Where is your money coming in from? Where is it going out to? If you don't keep on top of any of this sort of shit, you're going to fucking flounder. You're going to find yourself 6 months in absolutely struggling because you have no idea about where are your leads coming from. How much money are they paying? How long are they staying around for? What is your churn rate? What is your lifetime value of a client? How much tax have you got to put aside? How much money do you need to make before you have to register for GST? Do you even have an accountant? Are you even tracking expenses? All of these are things that you need to sit down at the very start of your PT career and map out. Just write a list. Okay, this is what I need to know. You are going to be marketing, communicating, sales, everything you can possibly think of. And you're going to want to learn it really fucking quick because it's sink or swim out on that gym floor. They're not going to really care about anything else. But you need to understand that from a business perspective, you need to know what's going on within your business if you want it to be successful. Yes, you would 9 times out of 10 setting up as a sole trader. Yes, you are working for yourself within either a big box gym or however the structure might work for you within your business. But you need to understand these things. Set your systems up early. The best thing, and I put a story up about this the other day, that the best thing about 2025 is the fact that there is so many fucking avenues that you can follow to help you to set up and structure a business from the ground up. You can hire a business coach very early. You can use ChatGPT to help you map out a business plan and a structure and create a list of everything that you need to learn. And then not only create a list of things that you need to learn, but dive deeper on that list to actually teach yourself the bare bone basics of how to set up a business. Some things that like make a difference in the long run, but you don't necessarily think about at the start is just little things like having your actual email be your business name. Now, if you don't have a business name at the start, that's perfectly fine. You don't need to have it all figured out from the get-go. But long term, if you want to set up a successful business and you want to have it structured, it's not enough to have, your personal training name or whatever your business name is at gmail.com. It doesn't look very professional. You want to have it something along the lines of like your name at yourbusiness.com or .com.au or whatever the case might be. It's these little things that in the long term will actually make a hell of a lot of difference, and they're going to help you to feel a little bit more confident as a business owner. Now, I can tell you right now, you're going to learn a fuck ton on the job. You're going to learn how to deal with objections. You're going to learn how to deal with retention rate problems. You're going to learn how to deal with a hell of a lot of things. Throughout my PT career, I've had to learn all of these things. I've had to learn how to deal with a business through COVID when everything shut down, gyms were shut, and the world was essentially turned on its head. A lot of PT businesses that I know of failed. They dropped. They were done. They pulled out of the gyms they were working at. They fucking called it a day. They didn't want to hack it anymore. They couldn't stand the fluctuations. I mentioned it in one of my previous episodes, but through the period of COVID, I was actually making fucking bank. I was still making just as much money as I had been when I was working in the gym, except now I wasn't having to pay gym rent. Now I wasn't having to pay fuel for my car to get anywhere. So I was actually making more money. I was very successful through that period of time. And that purely came down to the fact that I understood my clients were still going to need and want to train, and I was going to do my best to facilitate that however that needed to be done. These are the things that you need to understand, not necessarily prepare for. Nobody can prepare you for something like that. But if you have a shitty business, if you have a shitty system, if you don't connect to people on a personal level, then 9 times out of 10, they're just going to leave. If something like COVID hit again, I saw a lot of people's clients leave them because there was no communication. There was sort of like, they threw their hands up and they're like, oh, well, what the fuck can you do? Can't really do anything now because I can't PT you, blah, blah, blah. Their business has crumbled and that was it for them. It's just the reality, unfortunately. And coming into number 5, you're going to fuck up a lot. Like you are going to fuck up so many times. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fuck things up. You're going to have clients leave. Every single one of these things is teaching you a lesson, and it is a lesson that you need to learn. I can promise you right now, nothing prepares you for the first time you have an argument with a client. I can tell you right now, nothing prepares you for the first time you have a client disrespect you or talk shit about you or, I've had a client do a chargeback once and then try to act as if they didn't. And nothing prepares you for that. You have to learn how to deal with this shit on the fly. And the way in which you learn how to deal with this stuff is by just doing the work. Similar to before when I was talking about imposter syndrome. You're going to have imposter syndrome because you haven't stacked any wins. You're not going to feel confident in doing a lot of these things or having to have these hard conversations or dealing with these discrepancies because you haven't had to do it before. You can use a lot of skills from any other job you might have had or previous history with your life, or whatever the case might be. But until you're actually in the thick of it, you're never going to know how you're going to react. And every time you have a situation like this occur, you can do one of two things. You can either put your head in the sand and just be like, oh, fuck, poor me, this happened, blah, 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 whatever. Or you can sit there and go, okay, well, how did this happen? How am I going to ensure that this never happens again? And how am I going to learn from this? If you do not learn from it, you are going to continue to repeat it over and over and over again. It's never, you never fail, you never lose, you only ever learn. That's a reality of life. It's a reality within your PT business. You're gonna fuck up. Accept that, laugh at it, learn what you need to, continue to move on. Within that, number 6, fuck, we're flying through this. You are not just a coach. You are a leader, a listener, and sometimes a part-time psychologist. I can promise you right now, people will come to you for more than reps and macros. They just will. It's something you're going to need to learn. And again, this is all these lessons tie into each other. From lesson 1, if you cannot relate to people on a personal level, they'll go find another. Like, I can guarantee you right now, if you're in a big box gym or you're looking to start in a big box gym, there's probably going to be another 20 trainers that person can go and talk to. So why the fuck would they choose you? And I don't say that to mean, or why would they choose you? You're not good enough. I mean to say that, like, what is your point of difference? What is it that you can give to them that no one else can? Is it the way in which you know how to handle their problems? Is it the way in which you know how to help them? Is it the way that you can attain results for clients in a really simplistic way that helps them to learn long term so they can be self-sufficient on their own? What is it about you that sets yourself apart from other PTs within your gym so that you can succeed out of everyone? Now, for me, when I was at the gyms I worked at, one of my biggest draw cards was I would do a lot of the group fitness classes. Now, I started as a group fitness instructor when I first started PTing, and I fucking loved it at the very start. And I will be 1,000% honest with you. By the end of it, I absolutely hated it. It was draining, mentally exhausting. I didn't like it anymore. I didn't get fulfillment out of it. And when that time came, I quit all classes and was like, I'm done here. I don't need this anymore. But for the majority of the time in which I was a PT, I used classes as a means of getting people to know me. Because once these people knew me and they knew, my personality, they could see a little bit about who I was. And within these classes, I was then able to help them with things like technique. I was able to help them adjust, hey, have you tried this with your squat? Or, oh, I've noticed this is a bit of an issue that's reoccurring with you with your back. Is there something that, you've had a look at before? Or is it something you'd like to be really keen to have a bit of a suss out to see if we can sort of help you out with that? And 9 times out of 10, a lot of the people who are attending group fitness classes, especially within big box gyms, they're the type of people who are either A, busy working professionals who do not have time to think and they just want to get in, get it done and get out. Or B, they're people who are really unconfident in what they're doing. So they go to a class to learn off of the coach or the trainer or whoever's running that class. Now, if you rock up to a group fitness class and there's somebody there and they've just got a whiteboard and they've got the class written down and they're just like, yep, sweet, do your thing, see you later. And they're not getting around. They're not providing energy. They're not giving feedback. They're not helping cue. They're not keeping people safe. Anything like that. And it's very likely that you're not going to fucking succeed. Whereas if you do what I did, which is get around to people, you provide energy, you have a bit of banter, you chat shit, you show them that you're a real fucking person, you relate to them on a personal level, you then turn around and offer them assistance or help them. And if you ever go into it with the mindset of like, I'm only doing this to get money or to get people to, sign on with me as a coach, it's never going to work. But if you go into it with the genuine hopes and thoughts that you just want to help this person, you are going to do exceptionally fucking well. Offer them a free session. You're going to do so many free sessions as a PT, so you may as well do it with people that are already coming to your classes that you've already started to build a bit of a relationship with. There's no point walking up to a random on the gym floor and being like, hey, do you want to do a free session with me? Because they'll probably be like, fuck no, like, who the fuck are you? Why would I want to do a session with you? But if you go up to somebody who's coming to your class once, twice, 3 times a week, and they've been doing that for a couple of weeks now, and you're like, hey, you know what? Like, I've actually got a free spot that's popped up 9 a.m. Wednesday. I know you're here normally around that time. Would you want to come in and we can jump on and do a little bit of working through this problem? no, no obligations at all. Come on in, we'll run through it and we'll see how you go. They're going to be more receptive to that. Once they're more receptive to that, then for me, it was just one of those things that was like, okay, cool. So when can they sign up, basically? So this is like little things that you can work on, and it all just comes down to people will come to you because you're a person. They're not going to come to you just because you know a whole heap of shit. It's something that took me a really long time to work out. Like I thought that the more I learned, the more people would want to come to me. And it was like I was doing certificates and courses and teaching myself shit and reading books. And I was like, well, I know all this stuff, but why don't people want to come to me? And I was like, because I never gave them a reason to even want to find out. I never wanted to relate to them. I was just kind of like, well, I know all this stuff, so you should just come to me. And it's like, that's such a fucking entitled mindset that it's never going to work. It's never going to pay off. And in the long run, you're just not going to have a very successful business. Now, in part with that, number 7, know when to refer out / remember scope of practice. Yes, I made a joke that you're a part-time psychologist, but remember that you are not. You are not a psychologist. If you are not qualified as a physio, you are not a rehab specialist. If you're not qualified as an osteo, you have no right doing any form of rehabilitation work or anything like that. You are not insured for it. It is out of your scope of practice. If you were dealing with somebody from a nutritional standpoint and you don't have any form of nutrition qualification, insurance, or anything, then you really don't have any right to be doing it. If you're dealing with somebody who's got an actual serious condition and you're sitting there being like, oh, I can help them, you might fuck them up. Like a lot of people don't realize that there is a lot of conditions, issues, everything like that are actually quite serious. I have seen plenty of coaches operate out of scope of practice and fuck their clients up. That only leaves them open to legal ramifications and a really shitty mark on your record, which really nobody wants at the end of the day. Coming back to the point about it's okay to say you don't know. Good. Know when to refer out. Build a team of physical therapists, dietitians, or people who specialize in the things you don't. Create a team. I'm very, very fortunate that since I first started as a PT, I have always had a team of specialists, a team of everything from exercise physiologists, osteos, physios, dietitians, specialists in differing things that I've easily been able to be like, all right, cool, sweet. So I don't actually know that, or that's out of my scope of practice. Go and see this person. They're going to take care of you. You then send that person a message. You're like, hey man, look, I've got X client coming to see you. This is a couple of the things that's going on. This is sort of where the program's at, things like that. If there's any sort of feedback information that you can give me, pass it along. They're going to come and see you. That's fine. And you wouldn't believe it. The amount of clients and referrals I've received from that process is fucking outstanding. And the best part about it is a lot of PTs and a lot of people who start out as coaches and things like that in the start, they have this lack and scarcity mindset. They think, well, if I tell this person I don't know and I send them to somebody else who does, well, they're going to leave me for that person. And the fact of the matter is, if that happens for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. It's not a reflection on you. It just might mean that that person was better suited for that client than you were. And that's okay. But what also could happen is this client now might respect you a fuck ton more because they realize you don't just care about the dollar in your pocket, you actually give a fuck about them as a person. And they're going to continue to come back to you. They're going to continue to tell you, oh yeah, I went and saw that physio and they were great. Thank you so much. Like I'm feeling so much better. I can't wait to keep attacking this plan with you. Like we're feeling good. Everything's on track, blah, 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 blah. That's how you stack wins. That's how you build better rapport. That's how you get a better lifetime value of a client. Now, instead of that client dropping off after 2 months because you can't help them with their problem, you've told them you could. Now, all of a sudden, they don't trust you, so they've left. Instead of 2 months, now you've had them for 12 months. That's a fuck ton more money in your pocket at the end of the day. It's a hell of a lot more help that you're giving that person, and you're actually going to be probably helping to change their life. Plus, the fact is you're also helping other people with their businesses, and then in turn, those people are going to help you with your businesses. Now, it may not always work that way, but just remember that what you give out is what you get back. So if you're giving out good energy, you're trying to help people, you're trying to build businesses, etc. There's been plenty of times where as a PT or as a coach or whatever the case might be, I have straight up said to some clients, like, hey, I actually don't think we're the best fit. I think you might work better with this person. Or I might, I think you're probably going to get on better with this PT or this trainer, or hey, this person actually specializes in XYZ. For me personally, I will pretty much never prep anyone for a bodybuilding competition, but I do work with bodybuilders. And I have had quite a lot of bodybuilders come and work with me from a training perspective. I do all of their programming. I take care of all of that aspect of things. I communicate with their coaches who are doing all their nutrition and everything like that. And we correspond accordingly to give that client the best result possible. And that has only been a thing that's able to be done because I can turn around and say, hey, I will not do bodybuilding prep. I will coach you from a programming perspective. And if at any point throughout the programming perspective, you want to jump over and work with that individual coach because they're going to be able to better suit or tailor what you need based upon your nutritional, etc. Sweet. What you'll also find is that client will probably come back to you when they're in their off season. Or if they don't, then that is fine because that is not your specialty and your specialty will come back to you. If you do want to work with bodybuilders, then that is fine. You do not need to be a jack of all trades. You don't need to just accept every single person that comes to you. It is okay to tell them, I don't really know about this. It's okay to say, hey, this is out of my scope of practice. I think you'd be better suited with this individual. Because if you really care about helping people, then getting people results and helping them in the long term is going to be what matters more than trying to take everyone on, doing a really fucking shitty job of it. And now people have a really different perception of your business when they might keep a really great perception of your business. And although you may not get them, they might have a friend or a family member or a son or a daughter or anything like that who's like, and this has definitely happened for me where there's been someone who I wasn't able to work with just due to various reasons. I've told them that and they've gone, oh no, sweet. Like, I really respect the fact you've been able to tell me that. Thank you so much for your assistance. Oh, actually, it's really funny. Like my daughter said she was looking to start some PT and she just kind of wants some basic level stuff. Like, are you able to help her? I was like, perfect. Of course I can. But that person's not going to refer their daughter to me if I haven't shown them that I'm actually trustworthy or shown them that I can actually do my job, stay within my scope of practice, things like that. So it's definitely something that aspect of things, especially in the world of online coaches nowadays where they think they can just take on everyone and everything and fucking fuck them up, pisses me off. Fucking pisses me off. If you're a PT or a starting coach and you just think you can take on every single person and help every single person, you're fucking delusional. And that is the end of that. Anyways, number 9. See, we're flying through this. This is great. Number 9, burnout happens when you say yes to everything. This ties into that previous point when you just say yes to every single client and then all of a sudden your brain is so fucking wired because you don't actually know how to help them. And now you're stuck in this imposter syndrome. And now you're like, fuck, maybe I'm just not a good coach and maybe this and maybe that. And it's like, no, you just don't know how to help that person. You shouldn't have said yes to helping that person because you don't know how. What you'll find is when you only say yes to the things that you want to be doing. So, setting yourself boundaries, map out your ideal client. Who do I want to work with? Write everything down. Find your 3 best clients if you're already a PT, or if you're not a PT, find 3 people that you would love to coach. Write out all the qualities that they have, write out the things they have, write out the problems they have, write out the way in which you could solve them. Write out all of this shit so that you have a map of a framework of what you can actually do to help these people long term. Set yourself boundaries. I am incredibly, incredibly guilty of this. When I first started as a PT, I am probably somebody, and don't get me wrong, some of the things I'm saying might sound harsh. I have done all of these things. I have operated out of scope of practice. I have not known when to refer someone to a physical therapist. I have taken on clients who I shouldn't have worked with. I have run myself into the ground saying yes to session times that I knew I shouldn't be doing. There was a point in time when I was PTing where I would quite literally get to the gym at 4 a.m. in the morning. I would work until around mid-morning. I would go upstairs. I would have lunch. I would have a nap on the couch at EMF upstairs in the break room. I would go down. I would train. I would have a shower, get changed, work until 8 p.m. that night. Every single day I was doing that. And that was because I just didn't know how to say no. But at the same time, at the start, these are the things that you do need to do to actually build and establish a business long term. As I got more confident in my business, as my business grew, as all of these things started to change, I was able to set better boundaries and I was able to set better restrictions. It was like, no, I'm not going to accept that 3:30 a.m. Saturday session when I'm only finishing at 8 p.m. on a Friday night, because that doesn't necessarily work. You're going to probably have to do some of that at the start, but long term, it's not going to work. You're going to burn yourself out. You're going to continue. If you continue to say yes to everything, then you're going to find you hate it. Once you start to burn out and it becomes something you detest and you hate, then you're not going to want to be there anymore. And again, I know that this is what happens because I have done it. To the back end of being in commercial gyms, I started to become burnt out because I was working with a whole bunch of clients that didn't necessarily align with the direction with which I wanted to head in my business. Because I just built up the business the way I had, I didn't know how to say this. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to do any of that. I was still learning, and I'm still learning to this day. I have fucked up and made more mistakes than I can guarantee most people have in their life. And that's fine because I've learned from probably 99% of them. There's probably a few things I might fuck up again, but it's one thing to acknowledge it. It's one thing to set a boundary. It's one thing to stick to a boundary. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're just what keeps you in the game long term. And that's as simple as I can make it. Once you start to set better boundaries, once you start to understand that there's a process to all of this stuff, you'll actually find that the perfect clients come to you. If you want to be working with clients and you only want to be working with clients from 5 a.m. till 10 a.m., well, there's no fucking point you being in the gym at 7 p.m. at night trying to get clients because they're not the clients that are going to come to you. You know what the best time of day to be in the gym? It's 5 a.m. till 10 a.m. every single day. Even if you don't have clients, be there every single day, 5 a.m. till 10 a.m. I cannot tell you the amount of times where I have been in the gym in the afternoon when I was working, because I used to work in the afternoons. After a while, I would just restrict myself to the arvos into the evening. I can't tell you the amount of times when I'd be there and I didn't even have any clients on at that particular time. And, I might have struck up a conversation with someone on the gym floor. Or there might be somebody who had been coming to my classes who rolled in at a different time or whatever the case might be. And we're just having a bit of a chat. And I'm like, oh, fuck, do you just want to jump in on a session? Like, I got a free hour. I got free 45 minutes if you just want, like, if you're just starting, like, I'm happy to run you through a few things, like, on the house, blah, blah, blah. It's just going to kill time for me. And that's led to a client, an ongoing client for a very long time. One of my best examples of this is actually a client who I still coach to this day, going on about 5 years, 4.5 years or something like that. Just purely started because they were in the gym at the same time as me. We were having a bit of a discussion. She was like, oh, what are you doing right now? Do you want to run me through a session? And I was like, fuck, you know what? Yeah, I got nothing else better to do. So why not? Still coaching her to this day. So you never know what might come of being there, but there's no point being there at fucking 5 a.m. in the morning if you want to work with clients at 5 p.m. in the afternoon. There's no point being there at 7 p.m. at night if you want to work with people in the morning. Be at the gym at the times you want to be working and figure that shit out for yourself. Number 9, we have training is the easy part. Behavior change is where the real work comes into it. When I was talking about before with understanding your scope of practice, understanding that people come to you because you're a real person, understanding all of this, it is still within your scope of practice to help people change their habits. It is still within your scope of practice to help people from a behavioral standpoint to try and create better habits, better behaviors long-term with training. Now, helping them change their habits, their lifestyle is where true transformation happens. It's not enough to just be able to throw numbers at a spreadsheet or macros on a fucking sheet and be like, yeah, go track this and fucking great. But if that person's not going to be able to follow that, if that person's only ever going to stick to it maybe one day out of 7, that's not going to help them. What will help that person is teaching them how to do these things, teaching them how to track their macros, teaching them how to track their training, teaching them why progressive overload matters. And yes, I mentioned at the very start, it doesn't matter about what you know, it's more how you're able to communicate, but you still need to fucking know how to help people. I already said it. If you have imposter syndrome, you probably deserve it because you don't know how to help people, because you haven't done it enough. You still need to be able to know how to help people. You still need to know how to track macros. You still need to know how to track training, why progressive overload is important, why this exercise over that exercise, if this person has a particular goal, why we're going into a deficit, why we're going into a surplus, what it means to track your protein, and why we want to keep it at a particular range per day. All of these things are things you need to know. Doesn't necessarily mean the client needs to know them, but you need to know them so you can help the client achieve their goals and their desired outcome long term. It's not enough to just, have someone rock up once a week, train them for 45 minutes, send them on their way and be like, yeah, sick, that was great, see you next week. Like if you actually want to help people long term and you actually want to change people's lives, you need to worry about the other shit that happens the other 23 hours out of their day when they're not here. You need to help them create routines around sleep. You need to help them create better day routines in general. I can't tell you the amount of times I've helped clients map out their entire week from a business standpoint and things like that in industries I have no idea about. And I don't need to know anything about the industry with which they work in. All I need to know is how can we better capitalize on this week? Okay. How can we get you out and get a couple of more steps in? I was having a conversation with a client the other day and she'd been talking to me about not being as hungry before she sat down to eat at lunch. And what we'd sort of worked out after going a bit of back and forward is that she has essentially been doing a different role at the moment, which is quite hectic. It's quite intense. She's doing a little bit more of a workload increase than she's normally been doing. And she's essentially going straight from her desk, grabbing her food, and has either been eating it back at her desk again, or has just literally been just sitting straight down to eat. And her body is still stressed as fuck. She's not hungry. She's all of these things. Like the body's in fight or flight because it is stressed. It is trying to deal with all this other shit. So what we devised was a quick plan to be like, all right, cool. So before you have lunch, I just want you to get up and go for a quick 5-minute walk. Get outside for 5 minutes. Go and stand out the front of the building or out the front of your office or whatever the case might be. Get some fresh air, get some sun on your skin. If you can, if you have the time, go for a quick walk around the block. Just do a bit of breathing, relax, get back into it, come back in, eat your lunch, go from there. You wouldn't fucking believe it. Suddenly she becomes hungry and suddenly she can eat her food and suddenly things are starting to feel good. It's like, well, that had nothing to do with training. That had nothing to do with nutrition. If you're a coach who's just like, oh, well, just eat your food. It's not that hard. It's like, fuck, that person's not going to hang around. You need to remember, relate to these people as people. Have a personal approach. Understand shit sometimes doesn't go to plan, and that is perfectly okay. You just need to be able to help them, and that's fine. So behavior change is where the real magic happens. Helping people is where the real magic happens. You can know everything in this world. You can be the fucking smartest person ever. It doesn't mean you can help people. And that's just the reality of life, unfortunately. And then last but not least, number 10. 9 times out of 10, your ideal client profile is just a past version of you. You know, the people who you're meant to help will resonate with your journey. They will. The more you step into who you are as a person, and I don't know if there's a common theme coming time and time again throughout this whole entire conversation is fucking be a normal fucking person. But the more you step into who you are as a person, the more you are authentic to yourself, the more you are authentic to your journey, the things you have done, the things you have learned, the mistakes you have made, the more people are going to know you. The more people are going to know you, the more people are going to trust you. The more people are going to trust you, the more they're going to fucking buy into whatever it is you're selling. They're going to get your coaching. They're going to buy your programming. They're going to do whatever the fuck it is that you do because they like you. They trust that you can help them and they believe that you've been on a similar journey to them. Now, do I have really anything in common with a busy working mother of 2 with a husband at home? Absolutely not. But can I relate to them in general daily fucking life? Can I help them through their journeys in their training? Absolutely. Absolutely. My biggest goal from when I first started as a PT has always been to help people to not make the same mistakes I did, to help people to fast track the results so that they can achieve their desired outcome quicker, safer, and more efficiently. As I said, I have fucked up so many times. I started training in a world where there wasn't all these online coaches, where there wasn't all of these apps available, where there wasn't all of this shit. I've mentioned it before, but my very first program was just off of bodybuilding.com, or I would go onto YouTube videos in the fucking toilets at the gym, watch, okay, this is a shoulder superset. I need to go do that. And I would do that. And the next week I would change it. And then next week I would change it. And my training would change almost every week. And I'd always be wanting to shock the muscle and I'd do this and I'd do that. And there'd be no structure to my training. There would be no progressive overload. And it was like kind of just spinning my wheels for years on end. And then it wasn't until I really started to dive in and learn a little bit more that I was like, oh, there's actually a better way to do this. And that for me has been my biggest driving factor, has always been just to help people, From the very start of this podcast, I've said the only goal I have from this podcast is to help people. With this episode today, if anything I have said is able to help even just one PT to be a little bit more successful, is to help one coach survive that 6-month period, is to do any of that sort of stuff, then I am fucking happy. I'm so happy that that has been achieved as a byproduct of something I've been able to help someone with. So when I mentioned before about mapping out your ideal client profile, write yourself down. What have you gone through? What have you learned? What have you overcome? What are some things that you still struggle with? What are some challenges you still face? All of these sort of things are going to help you find your ideal client profile. They're going to help you to build know, like, and trust with a client or a potential client, and you are going to have a much more successful career as a PT. Now, looking back, like, these lessons haven't just shaped the way I coach, but they've pretty much molded my life. They have helped me to achieve things that I have never even thought possible for myself. There's a lot of these things that I will still fuck up every now and again, and that's fine, as long as the fuck ups are less frequent. But I can promise you right now that you will never be a disservice to doing work on yourself to be able to help others. It's just a matter of fact. So if you are an aspiring PT, if you are a new PT, if you're a new coach, if you're anything like that, all I want you to remember is you're going to fuck up a lot. Embrace it. Learn from it, grow from it. Never let it happen again. Or if it does, make sure it doesn't sting as much. Just keep showing up. Just show up. Turn up to the gym when you're wanting to be there working, even if you have no clients. Start to talk to people. Start to learn how to deal with different demographics. Start to learn how to communicate with different people. Start to learn how to do all of these different things as soon as possible. The quicker you can get in and do that, the better you're going to be as a PT, the more successful career you're going to have, and the more longevity you're going to have. The one thing I would love to see within this industry is to see probably less PTs entering it, but more success rate. I don't just want all these companies to be pumping out their Cert 3-4s and getting anyone through the door, not giving a fuck if they survive 12 weeks as long as they get their money and fucking off. I want to see PTs and coaches succeed. You know, a rising tide lifts all ships. There's so many fucking clients out there for people. The world is evolving. The gym is not going anywhere. It is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And all I want to see is people succeeding. So do the shit that you know you need to do and stick with it. If this has helped you, or if you are a coach currently and it's reminded you of anything you've maybe fucked up in the past, or a couple of lessons you've learned, honestly, like, send it to a coach. If there's somebody that you know that wants to be a PT, send this to them. If you are a PT or a coach and this has helped you, share it with a friend or share it with one of the new PTs at the gym or anything like that. All of this sort of stuff just shares by word of mouth. I'm not doing any marketing with any of this podcast. I'm not really doing any outreach with any of it or anything like that. If you've taken any sort of value or you've enjoyed this episode in any regards, please feel free to share it to your story. Tag me, send me a message. Let me know you've listened. Let me know if any of it's helped. Give me if you've got a different perspective on some stuff, let me know. I love having conversations. I'm an incredibly open-minded person, and I love to understand the way in which people's minds work as to why it might be slightly different to my own. Beyond that, if you made it to this point, thank you very much for listening. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I look forward to speaking to you on the next one.